2 weeks ago, I released the worst seasons in each US pro sport video, so I figured I'd ramp down the negativity a bit and look at the best season this time around. Worst season was pretty easy to define, just who had the worst record. There could have been other factors to make a season bad for players, management, and ownership of the teams, but I feel like for the fans, those wouldn't factor into how we view the seasons. For the best seasons, it's not as simple as best record. Championships matter. The entire point of a professional sports team is to win championships, not just to win games in the regular season. Here's a fun fact I discovered while researching this video. Of the four major American sports, none of the teams with a record for the best regular season won their championship that year. The Chicago Cubs and Seattle Mariners are tied for the MLB record for wins in the regular season with 116. The Cubs set the mark in 1906 before losing the World Series to the Crosstown White Sox. The Mariners tied the total in 2001 before falling to the New York Yankees in the American League Championship Series. For the NFL, the New England Patriots had an undefeated regular season at 16-0 in 2007, only to lose in the NFL's championship game thanks to the New York Giants and David Tyree's possibly magic helmet. And yes, I'm still not using the current NFL championship game's proper name because the NFL is still litigious about it. I realize they probably wouldn't sue me for it, but I'm going to be just as petty as they are and not use it. The Golden State Warriors set the NBA record with the 73-win season in 2015-2016, only to give up a 3-1 lead to the Cleveland Cavaliers and lose the NBA Finals. The Warriors won the title the year before, and the 2 years after, but not the year they set the record somehow. The NHL's Boston Bruins set the regular season record for wins with a 65-12-5 record in 2002-2003, only to be eliminated from the playoffs in the first round. Prior to that, two teams shared the record with 62 wins, the 1995-96 Detroit Red Wings, who lost in the Western Conference Finals, and the 2018-19 Tampa Bay Lightning, who didn't even win a single playoff game that season, getting swept in the first round. Having the best regular season of all time counterintuitively doesn't seem to have much impact on making a championship run. With those teams out of the way, who did have the best overall seasons in each sport, ending with them winning the championship? Let's start with the easiest, the 1972 Miami Dolphins. Since the formation of the NFL, only 4 teams have had undefeated, untied regular seasons. Of those 4, the 72 Dolphins are the only team to win the championship game. The 1934 and 1942 Chicago Bears both lost the NFL championship game, along with the 2007 Patriots losing the big game. The 72 Dolphins amassed a perfect 14-0 regular season, and statistically were top 5 in the league in most every category not related to passing the ball, as they were primarily a running team. 8 of their 14 regular season wins were by 2 touchdowns or more, while only 2 were within 1 field goal. All of their playoff wins were close, but they did manage to complete their perfect season, unlike the other aforementioned teams with perfect regular seasons. Miami won the Big Game 7 by a 14-7 score, defeating the then Washington Redskins, who became the Washington Football Team, who then became the Washington Commanders. Their whole name debacle is why I now call them the Washington Red Football Commies. To this day, the remaining living members of the 72 Dolphins will open a bottle of champagne to celebrate when the last undefeated NFL team in a season loses, meaning the Dolphins' perfect run will remain the best season in NFL history for one more year. With the NFL season now being 17 games long, and parity in the league making it more difficult for any team to run the table, it may be possible that the last 72 Dolphin will expire before the record season does. Obviously, the teams with the best records in other major US sports didn't go undefeated, because that's just not possible over a season with a minimum of 80-plus games. That being said, the team with the lowest winning percentage of the best seasons of the other 3 leagues still won over 70% of their games. That would be the 1998 New York Yankees, who posted a 114-48 record, only 2 wins behind the Cubs and Mariners' 116 wins. Those Yankees, though, managed to seal the deal by winning the 1998 World Series. This was the second championship for the Yankees in what was to be their run of 4 titles in 5 years between 1996 and 2000. They swept the San Diego Padres in a series that the Yankees came from behind twice, and one game was close at 3-0. The series was more competitive than some sweeps, but was a sweep nonetheless. The Yankees actually only lost 2 games the entire postseason, posting an 11-2 record. They won their division with the second-place team, the Boston Red Sox, being 22 games in back of the Yankees in the standings despite having 92 wins that season themselves. The Yankees led the league in runs scored, and pitcher David Wells threw the 15th perfect game in Major League Baseball history. They weren't a particularly statistically dominant team, although they were in the top 3 in several offensive and pitching categories, including team batting average, hits, hits allowed, and walks allowed. The 98 Yankees were more a team that found ways to win and were extremely clutch, as opposed to a team that could just boat race everyone off the field. The same cannot really be said of the 1976-1977 Montreal Canadiens, the NHL team with the best season of all time. They posted a 68-12 record, giving them an .825 points percentage. Montreal ranked first or second in basically every major statistical category except shorthanded goals scored. They tallied 2.7 goals per game more than their opponents, and set the records at the time for points in the standings in a season as well as wins in a season, until later broken by the Bruins and Red Wings. They slightly bested the 1998 Yankees by going 12-2 in the playoffs, and like the Bronx Bombers, the Habs swept the Stanley Cup Finals. The team didn't lose consecutive games all season, but did have consecutive ties 3 times. They also had a tie and a loss back-to-back once, but still that means their longest non-winning streak of the season was 2 games. They had 3 games that season they scored double-digit goals, with an opening night 10-1 victory over Pittsburgh, an 11-3 victory over Chicago, and they beat the Washington Capitals in the next to the last game of the season 11-0. They had 28 games that season when they scored 6 or more goals. That's 35% of their season. More than a third of the time, the 76-77 Canadiens were just going to mercilessly bludgeon someone. The 76-77 season was the second of 4 consecutive Stanley Cup wins for the Canadiens franchise, but none of the other teams in that era had quite the same run as the 76-77 team. They were an absolute wagon, or, for our French-Canadian friends, a wagon. Like the Canadiens before them, and the Yankees around the same time frame, the NBA team with the best season of all time was in the midst of a dynastic run when they set the mark. That would be the 1995-96 Chicago Bulls. Fresh off Michael Jordan taking a couple of years off to be a minor league baseball player, the Bulls set the record for NBA wins at the time, which would later be broken by the 2015-16 Golden State Warriors. The Bulls went 72-10 that season, giving them an .878 winning percentage. This was the first of the Bulls' second set of 3 consecutive NBA titles. Their winning streak was only interrupted by Jordan deciding, possibly correctly, that basketball just wasn't challenging enough for him at the time. The Bulls only lost 2 regular season games in Chicago that year, including starting the season 37-0 at home. Counting the last 7 home games of the previous season, the Bulls set the NBA record with 44 consecutive home wins. They also set the record for road wins in the season with 33, but that record would later be eclipsed by the Golden State Warriors. The Bulls did have the most losses of any team in this video during their playoff run, going 15-3 on their way to winning the NBA championship. And while 15-3 is technically the, quote, worst on this list, that's still an .833 winning percentage. They still have the best combined record for regular and postseason in the NBA with an 87-13 mark. The Bulls finished 20 games in the Eastern Conference standings ahead of the second-place Indiana Pacers, who themselves posted a 52-30 record. Only one team in the league, the Seattle Supersonics, were even within 10 games of the Bulls in the standings, being only 8 games back. It's probably no coincidence that the Sonics were the team the Bulls beat in the NBA Finals that year. So there you have it, the best championship winning seasons from each major American sport. The teams that have gone down in history as the best of the best. If you like this video, or if you're morally offended by the pronunciation of my one attempt at speaking French, please feel free to like, subscribe, comment on, or share the video. Also feel free to click the notification bell, as I do release a video and a short on a weekly basis. And as always, thanks for watching.